It's not gray, it's manatee. Welcome back to Morning Coffee with Jumpsuit, episode 5. Yeah, I know I missed last week. Listen, it's a whole big thing. We had somebody working on our AC up in the attic. I'm making my coffee. I'm like, hey, let's get this episode going. Some big crash happens. My cat ran. I was like, what the? And I look, and the whole ceiling just, the ceiling fell, and it was, here we are, episode 5. Okay. That's all you need to know. Excuse me, just 1 second. Oh, yeah, that's right. That is a JSP. Hang on. That is a JSP coffee mug, baby. I got merch. Can you believe it? Listen, March of this year, I was watching people on YouTube with their little check marks by their names. You click on their videos. They got the little plaque in the background. Little silver plaque. I was like, look at this guy, man. Like, that should be me. And guess what? Thanks to you guys. I mean, jokes aside, what happens without people viewing and supporting, right? Thanks to you guys, I got merch. I got a big thing in the back. See that? I got a big thing in the back. It says Jumpsuit Pablo. I got a mug that says JSP. And a lot of you guys got mugs that say JSP. Thank you. Um, I'm not even wearing my JSP shirt like an idiot, you know. When you get merch, you're supposed to wear your merch in every video. Well, it's in the washing machine, so like they're $16. I could only buy 2, and I've already wore them both, so they're getting washed. So I'm wearing this one. No, but now I got a little check mark, and I got my little plaque on the way. I got my little email. Hey, what do you want us to put on your award? Jumpsuit Pablo, of course. And it's being made and shipped. So I'm going to unbox that on live with everyone. It's only right. You know, we did this together, so we're going to open it up together. I'm not even going to open it till we're all here live. So take about 2 or 3 weeks to get here. But yeah, and now I'm there. So that's kind of been sinking in the last week. But yeah, had to take a week off because it's been hectic, man. It's been hectic. But I know when we left off, we were talking about as far as the previous episode. I know everybody really loved that part about how, I was saying my dad, being a pastor, I'd always be in church, and I used to get in trouble when I went to church a lot because I just was clueless as a kid in church. It kind of started with the story about how it was Memorial Day on that Sunday service, and our my big sister's friend had spent the night and came with us to church. She had been volunteering at the veterinarian's place to help animals. My dad during the service was like, she came with us to church. My dad was like, all the veterans, please stand so we can honor you on Memorial Day. And I was like, stand up, Laura, you're a veteran. I didn't know the difference between veterans and veterinarians. All the old war heroes wanted to flash back on me. But so I wanted to continue kind of on that thought as far as me getting in trouble at church. Man, I couldn't avoid it. Seriously. Half the time, especially when I was like under the age of 10 or maybe up until the age of 10. Let me tell you something. I was in church all my life. Okay. As a kid, wasn't nobody in church more than me. I was out there every day, front line, in church, in the pew, baby. Turn to what? Psalms 2:14. Yeah, I'm there in my butt, in my. Oh, we're singing this hymnal? I know every word. Let's get it. Our God is an awesome God, he reigns. I know all the words. Let's get it. I'm a preacher's kid. I was born knowing this stuff. I was born knowing how Moses used his staff to part the sea, Um, so, but I still managed to get in trouble. And when I was like under 10 or up until the age of 10, I would get really bored. I mean, here's the thing. People don't realize, or maybe they do, but I feel like there's a lot of families, like the church families, they take their whole family to church. I get it. We want our kids in church. I get that. But you got to understand, man, these kids are bored in service. Okay. They're not like on the edge of their seats listening to the pastor. They're not. And I wasn't. Um, if they're sitting still, it's because they know they're going to get whooped if they're not. So, man, I was bored. I would look around at people and just like kind of laugh to I'd just people watch. I'd just look at people and like, look at that guy. He's ugly. Look at that woman. Look how big her glasses are. But um I would always do this thing in the middle of the service when I just couldn't take. I need a break. I'd tell my parents, "Hey, I have to pee. I got to use the bathroom." And I kind of, excuse me, brother Joe, excuse me, sister Mary. Just kind of edge on out of the pew, and I got to pee, man. I got to pee. But I didn't. I didn't have to pee. I went before the service, like a normal human being. I didn't have to pee. I would go down there the hallway. I get out and it's like empty because everyone's in the main thing listening to the preacher. And I'd get out there and it's all empty. And I was like, yes, me time. And I would go down the hall, go all the way back. The bathrooms were all the way back and to the left. I'd go all the way back and I'd turn right. I wouldn't go left. I'd turn right. Okay. You know what was to the right? The left was the bathroom. Do you know what was to the right? The fellowship hall. Yeah, the fellowship hall. It's where you meet up. Everyone, Sister Martha cooks her world famous banana pudding. Brother Brother Martin, he done smoked the ribs on the grill and brought them, and they're all in the fridge waiting or whatever until after church when when people fellowship on Wednesdays and stuff. Point is, if you go back there's a fridge and there's always Sprite, Coke, sodas. Okay. You look in the cabinets, there's chips, Lay's, barbecue. I mean, there's goodies in there. Man, I would get hungry. I'd go back there and start snacking. Went back there and found like the communion wafers, when they're having like that special service. And it's like, this is the body of Christ. And it's like a cracker. And then they're like, this is the blood of Christ. And it's like Welch's grape juice. I'd go back there and start drinking juice. I'm popping crackers. I was hungry. And that's what I'd do. And sometimes I'd narrowly like avoid getting caught. I'd almost get caught. Someone else would come out to use the bathroom. And I'd be like, oh. I'd hear like footsteps coming. And I got like a mouthful of crackers and juice. And I'd just duck down, man, and stay quiet. It was like Jurassic Park, when they're in that little building and they're hiding from the raptors. But yeah, I would always get in trouble at church. And one time that sticks out to me, let me tell you, it was all because of this guy, Brother Howard. Brother Howard. I'll never forget him. Brother Howard. Brother Howard was one of them guys, man. He's old. Not that that's an issue, but I'm just telling you who the guy is. He's old. He's about 87 years on planet Earth. White hair. He's got a real weak, a very thin, fragile, frail comb over, hanging on by a strong gust of wind to just blow the rest of the top right off, and he'll just have the sides. Okay. And he's skinny as a rail. It looks like he took a pair of chopsticks and put a church suit on it with a tie. Brother Howard had some big old bifocals, not glasses, bifocals. And, Brother Howard had probably had a medical emergency happen at some point in his life. Not to joke about that, but just, the fact is his mouth was kind of permanently like this. He had like this dip just that in his lip. So he had a little crevice in his bottom lip, and he would talk real soft. Pastor, hey, Pastor, can I talk to you real quick? Pastor, I saw your son eating crackers and drinking juice. No, but he would always, and so because his lip was like that, he would always have this like glob, this kind of pool of saliva kind of rising up on Brother Howard's lips. Because he had something happen. No, he always had this glob of saliva rising up on his lip, just right there on the edge. And like if he like turned his head too fast, it would kind of just sling out, and hypothetically it would. But he never did turn his head too fast. He never did any that. He would have a pool of spit right there, and he did not spill a drop ever. It was right on the edge of just falling over that lip, but it never, in my life, it never did. He kept it right there on right there in the parameters. Okay. He kept it on his property. But that was Brother Howard, and so, after I got over the age of 10, probably 11 or 12, 13, maybe, dare I say, I was entrusted with a very special job, and I had preacher's son privilege. I was given this job because I was the preacher's son. And let me get a sip of coffee from my JSP mug. I had preacher's son privilege, and they said, or maybe they just noticed all their crackers and grape juice were going missing, and they put it together. But they decided to give me a job during the service. I was the sound man. I was just a boy. But when church started, I was the sound man. And I would sit back in that little room in the back behind everybody in the service. And I had that, it's got that little window cut out. If you've ever been in church, you know what I'm talking about. And I would sit back there, and they showed me how to work the little knobs on the little soundboard. When Sister Teresa was going to sing her gospel, her hymnal, I turn up microphone 7, turn it up. Then when she's done, I turn it down so we don't get that. I had a big job. Pretty much the entire church would have fallen apart if I wasn't back there doing what I was doing. But that was my job. Then when my dad went on, I was supposed to turn his mic up and just basic stuff that a 11-year-old could handle. But that was my job. And so it didn't take much work on my end. And so there was about three big times during this hour and a half long service that I had to pay attention and do something. Other than that, in between, I'm closed off in this room. No one can see me. I can do whatever I want. And I loved it. Keep in mind, this was during a time in life that adults, let alone kids, didn't have cell phones. People didn't have cell phones. Okay. This was a while. This is back in the 90s or like 2002 or something. So people didn't really have cell phones. I couldn't be an iPad kid and just sit back there and play Minecraft, during church. So I'm sitting back there in the sound room because I'm the sound man, and I'm trying to find stuff to do. But there was always, I don't know who was in charge of doing this, but there was always like a fresh bag of these Lifesaver candies, not the mints, but the fruit Lifesaver candies, the green, the orange, the yellow, the red. I loved those. Kidding me? So I'd eat about 23 Lifesaver candies per service, and I'd just sit back there and pop Lifesaver candies, and I would get to doodling. How when you go to church, if you don't go to church, I'll tell you, they hand out these kind of papers in every service, and it gives you a basic itinerary of what's going on, who's singing, what they're singing, what Bible verses they're going to be talking about today, so that you can kind of already have your pages marked in your Bible if you want to follow along. So you get they hand out these papers in every service. So I had about 3 back there. but I didn't want them to follow along. I wanted them for the spots that there was no text on because I wanted to draw. I like to doodle. So I would doodle on these things. Doodling. I was back there doodling and hitting dials and doodles in the sound room. So I like to doodle. And, I've said before in my previous episodes, if this is the first one you're catching, let me fill you in. I was a huge WWF, World Wrestling Federation, fan as a kid. I love Stone Cold, The Rock, everybody. And just for some context, there was another wrestler. His name was Kurt Angle. He's not as well known as Stone Cold and The Rock, but just so you know, if you don't watch wrestling, there was a guy they called Kurt Angle. And every time he came in, his whole kind of role in this TV wrestling, in these shows, the crowd was supposed to kind of hate him. They hated this guy. So the crowd hated him. And his entrance music when he walked in, it would be like dun 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 dun. And so because the crowd hated him, they'd kind of chant along with his music and be like, "You suck, you suck, you suck, you suck." That was every time, and it became like it's a whole thing. It's a whole thing back in that day and age when wrestling was really, something you watched, not like today. But so that was his whole thing. He comes out and the crowd chants, "You suck." So I don't know, man. I was just bored and I was doodling on papers. I used to draw the Stone Cold skull, and I might put, I'm just drawing stuff from wrestling or maybe Pokemon. I might have drawn a little Pokemon I liked because I'm a kid. I liked Pokemon, and I'm just doodling stuff. I'm bored. And I don't know, man. I wasn't even thinking. And I wrote in real big letters, I was thinking about Kurt Angle. I must have just got done watching a match like 2 days ago, and it was like a big wrestling match, and it had him. And I just wrote, "You suck," in big words. Okay. Didn't think anything of it. Left the paper there. The service ended. I did my job flawlessly, I'll say. And, I left. And on the ride home, my dad was furious. And come to find out, man, listen, Brother Howard told my dad, because it was Brother Howard's job to clean up the whole, area, like the church. I can't remember what they call it, but just the main service area where they have the sermon and everyone sits. He cleans all the pews and the aisles and stuff, and including the sound room. So he went in there to just kind of clean up. There's probably like 74 Lifesaver wrappers laying on the desk and stuff, and just kind of wipe down and sweep, vacuum, whatever. But he found that paper and he looked and it said, "You suck" on it. And he told my dad, "Hey, your son wrote, 'You suck.'" And for all the regular viewers, remember, I told you several episodes ago, in my house, you weren't even allowed to say fart. When you farted, you had to say, "Oh, squirrels on the roof." Yeah. You weren't allowed to say "but," you had to say "fanny." So for me to get caught writing "you suck," oh, 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 I was in trouble. He chewed me out that whole ride home. And I just couldn't help but think, man, Brother Howard, you piece of crap. Brother Howard, you've been on this earth 87 years, and not once have you ever spilled a drop of that glob of saliva caught in your lip. But boy, I tell you, it didn't take much for you to spill them beans, did it? You spilled all them beans to my dad about that paper that said "you suck." Oh, spill the beans, Howard. He'll spill the beans, but he won't spill that spit. I just couldn't believe it. But yeah, that's just one of many times I got in trouble at church. But man, speaking of church, I mean, a lot of characters are coming back to me. And I remember this woman, elderly woman. She was like 90. She was like 92. But she was like a very vibrant, alive, energetic 92. Okay, her name was Miss Swindoll, Evelyn Swindoll. And she was a sweetheart. She was a sweetheart. She loved kids. She loved everybody. She was a great lady, great woman. and very, very fiercely religious. And you know, I love me personally. I love Miss Swindoll. You know, it's funny. Her house was seriously. I could stand in the parking lot of the church and throw a rock and hit her house. Okay, and I actually did that one time. Busted out a window. But, no, I'm just kidding. I didn't do that. I didn't do that. But that's how close her house was to the church. So after church some nights, usually Wednesday nights when it's more laid back, you know, casual Friday type of dress, you know, you can wear jeans to this. You know, I'm just assuming like half of you probably go to church, half of you probably never been. So for those who've never been, I'm trying to like give you the feel. Wednesdays are very laid back. You can wear jeans. You dress how you dress anywhere. You know, Wednesday you're chilling. You're chilling, and you're going to be eating. You know, there's drinks, there's food, and you know you're going to have a little service, but it's going to be real laid back and stuff. So after that on Wednesdays, we go to Miss Swindoll's house. When I say we, I usually mean like me and one of my older three sisters, the one who was more closer to me in age. The other two were kind of off at college, but we go to her house, and you know she had this convection oven, and this is the first time I ever even heard the term convection oven. And to this day, I for $1,000,000 I couldn't tell you what the difference between a convection oven and just an oven is. But she used to cook some things in that oven, bake some cookies in that oven, that alone will get her into heaven. I mean, forget everything else. She, if you know, just those sugar cookies and those peanut butter cookies she would make. They had the crisscross things that you see in the peanut butter. I don't know how she did it, but let me tell you something. She did it, and they were great. So, me as a kid, I loved her. Free cookies, yeah. I love you, Miss Swindoll. So, yeah. No, but she was great. And so at one point, she was kind of teaching the kids' youth Sunday school service. Not service, but like, you know, before the service, you got to get there an hour early, and you have Sunday school. They have the one for the adults, they have one for the youth, they have one for the little kids. This was at the time, it was a very small church. So when we're talking youth group, we're talking like me, my big sister, and like one other, like probably my big sister's friend. So like three people and Miss Swindoll. And she was like telling, you know, this always sticks out to me because she was, you know, giving us her Bible lesson that she had prepared. And she was talking about Revelation, the book of Revelation, and it was talking about how, you know, when Jesus comes back, you know, people who are saved, you know, you're going to have the rapture, and so everyone who's saved and has Jesus in their heart, they'll be taken to heaven, and everyone else is going to be left behind. And she's like, and yeah, so you know, you got to have Jesus in your heart because when Christ comes back and, you know, takes all the people who have accepted him as his Lord and Savior, you know, anyone who hasn't, man, you're done. It's over for you. You know, she didn't use those words. She's 92 from the South. You know, she didn't say it like that. But basically she was like, hey, that's it, Buster. Like you're finished. Better hope that you went ahead and, you know, got Jesus in your heart, or you're, you know, it's over for you. And you know, I hated to correct her, but listen, guys, I'm a preacher's son. I was born knowing John 3:16. I was born knowing every book of the Bible. I was born knowing, you know, Zechariah, Malachi, Ruth, Judges, Psalms, Proverbs, Job, Math. You know, I practically personally know Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. So sorry, I hate to do it to you, Miss Swindoll. I don't care how good your cookies are, but I got news for you, sister. The Bible says when Jesus comes back and he kind of takes everybody up, um, everyone's going to have one more chance. After that, everyone's who's left behind, you know, they're going to have one more chance to accept Jesus before before it. And then if you don't, there's like a second thing that's going to happen. And then if you didn't, when you had that, all right, now you see it's real now. You see Jesus just came back and took all these people. Now you still not going to, you know, get with it. If you don't, then you're done. But you're going to have another chance. And I told her that basically. And she was like, oh, no, 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 no. And I'm like, yes, 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 Miss Swindoll, unfortunately. And you can like it or you can lump it. All right. That's just the facts of it. And she was like, no, no, no. Like she threw her whole lesson plan in the trash and like argued with me the whole time. And I'm like, dude, you're wrong. And let me tell you, Miss Swindoll wasn't a slouch when it came to like knowledge of the Bible. She was fiercely religious and very, very into, I mean, she was, very religious. She just was. And I think the next week, no, it wasn't even the next week. She like called my house. She called my dad the next day to ask to speak with me. And she apologized to me. She said she went home and read the Bible and read that, that part specifically. And she's like, you're right. I know I'm right. But no, she said, you're right, blah, 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 blah. And let me tell you, it wasn't that big a deal to me, but it was to her. She had been corrected and she never let it go. She didn't let that thing go for years. And let me tell you, this happened when I was like 11, 12, maybe 13, at the most 13. I went to jail when I was 20. Okay. Where I would eventually go on to do 10 years in prison. So like, when everything went wrong, I mean, this has been like 7, 8 years. I quit going to church. I hadn't even been there. I hadn't even talked to Miss Swindoll in like 6, 7, 8 years. I went to jail and Miss Swindoll, bless her heart, she's a sweetheart. She sent me a letter. And the letter was like, just, encouragement, prayers for you, you're going to get through this. I'm sorry that this has happened, just stay strong, pray about it. Just what you'd expect from Miss Swindoll. And she brought up the time. She was like, you're a smart young man. I always remembered, that time that you corrected me. She told everyone about that. Now, she couldn't believe that I corrected her, but it was so funny because Miss Swindoll's Miss Swindoll, and she she doesn't have any experience with just dealing with someone in jail or prison, and she doesn't know the first thing. And why should she? But she doesn't know the first thing about how anything works with jail. And she sent me a letter with that letter in it. And I also had a second letter in it because, when you send a letter to someone in jail, the police open it and they read it. And then they give it to the inmate because they're making sure you're not like, just, I don't know, planning stuff. Maybe they sent you like drugs in there. They open stuff and read it. And so when there's stuff in this envelope that someone sent to you that is not allowed and not supposed to be being sent and mailed in to an inmate, they include a paper. And it's kind of just a notice, a warning. Hey, we found something that's not cool, and this is what it was. And they got like a blank line and the officer fills in what it was. I had one of those papers and it was like, she tried to send me like, it said coins. I guess she tried to send me like a couple coins for, I don't know why. Maybe she thought there was like a vending machine in here or like a payphone that I could call her. She sent me, it said coins, chocolates. She put like individual Hershey's chocolates in the envelope, which you can't do. I'll do gum. Like she loaded this envelope full of stuff and like sealed it and sent it in. Like when people get stuff like that, you can go to solitary just because they're gonna automatically assume that you coached them to send this stuff into you. See what I'm saying? So I'm like, oh my gosh. But no, she just didn't know any better. And she sent me like chocolates, coins, gum, a paper clip. Like just, I mean, it was hilarious. But yeah, God bless Miss Swindoll. She has passed away since then. But yeah, she was great. And man, so much stuff used to happen at church with me. I remember when I was a kid. Listen, like I said, I love wrestling. And I didn't, all I had was 3 older sisters. They never wanted to play with me. I was the only boy. I wanted the rough house. They didn't want nothing to do with me. I wasn't allowed to have friends over, because you remember my only neighbor kid my age was Steven across the street who farted in our swimming pool, and the bubbles came up. So my dad nicknamed him Bubbles, and he said Bubbles isn't allowed to come over anymore because he farted in our pool. So I didn't have anyone to play with. So I would go out on our trampoline and I would take stuffed animals out there and I would do wrestling moves on them for hours. I would pretend I was wrestling and I'd stone cold stunner and, flying body slam, these stuffed animals. And little did I know, these had been filmed sometimes because the back of our house is facing the trampoline. And so my mom or my sister, somebody was like video with the old school camcorder, the old handheld camcorder with the strap that goes with your hand. They were filming me. Why would they do that? I had no idea. But they filmed me doing this, just beating up stuffed animals like a lunatic kid. If you don't have context, like, okay, no one's going to tell, if you watch this video of me beating up a stuffed animal for 2 hours straight, no, thinking about this kid's crazy. But nobody knows, hey, my 3 sisters, they don't play with me. They're not going to come out here and wrestle with me. And I don't have any friends. And literally no one my age lives on this street except one kid. And, he has gastrointestinal problems. So that's out of the question. So you didn't know that, did you? So point is, my oldest sister, she was very involved in her youth group at a different church. And because they had a bigger youth program, so she liked to go to that church for that youth program. She's very involved in that. Like we're talking, compared to the one I just told you about, where we got 3 people, this was a legit, like, everyone hop on the bus, we're going on a trip, youth trip, like 30, 40, 50 kids. So much more involved and just better youth program. So, and my oldest sister was always very creative. She would make kind of home videos with the same camcorder, and she would use dolls or Barbies. She would use modeling clay to like sculpt these figurines, and she would make home movies with them. This is before, this is like before YouTube, before anybody even did anything like this. She was, she had the thought to do stuff like make little home movies. And she would do them based around people she was in the youth group with, just kind of as a funny thing. And everybody, they were fun. They were good little fun homemade videos. And her friends in the youth group, everybody got it, and it was funny. And so she filmed like a big, video that she was going to bring to the youth group one day, and she grabbed like the wrong VHS tape. She thought she brought her original production to youth group. Nope, she grabbed, she popped it in the TV, the little VCR. Yes, this is back when people used VCRs. Popped it in front of 50 kids. Now, some of these kids I went to school with. Some of these were girls who were like 2 grades above me. And as you know, we're in school, man. Like some of these girls I probably had a crush on or something, I'm a kid. She popped that thing in front of 50, 60 people and had the wrong video. Have you already figured out what video she brought? Me, Dippy McGee, old doofus Johnson, hitting the stone cold stunner on a teddy bear out there on the trampoline. Yeah. Embarrassing. Absolutely embarrassing. Everybody's just like, loser. Pray for him. Say an extra long prayer for this guy. He's got problems. Oh, man. I think I quit going to that youth group after that. But yeah, my big sister, my biggest sister, my oldest sister, not just church. She's embarrassed me. She's, that was unintentional, but she's done some intentional things to me. And this is, like one time, this is her, and the other culprit here is a familiar friend, Laura, the one with the veterinarian story. These heathens, let me tell you the pranks they used to play on me as a kid. I remember one time, I'll never forget it. The trauma of hearing this answering machine. This is when people had home phones, house phones, and answering machines. Hi, you've reached the Jumpsuit Pablo family. Please leave your name and message after the. These heathens, we weren't supposed to be answering the phone when our parents weren't there. Wasn't that a thing? Was that a thing for everyone or just me? We weren't supposed to be really answering the phone, so my parents weren't there and the home phone rang. I didn't answer. That was back when just let it ring and hear what they say on the answering machine. And as they're leaving a message, you'll hear it out loud. And so the phone quits ringing and I'd go, you go into your parents' bedroom to hear the message that's being left. And let me tell you, man, these guys, this message starts getting left and they're just like, Paul, help, it's us. So-and-so and Laura, your sister. Oh. We're trapped. They trapped us in here. We're trapped in the answering machine. Help. That's, your sister and Laura, that's not the real sister and Laura that's walking around your house. They're robots. They grabbed us and trapped us in the answering machine. Help, let us out. And I'm just like, oh my gosh. Oh, what do I do? What do I do? What do I do? What do I do? My parents aren't home. No one has cell phones back then. That wasn't a thing. So it's like, what do you do? I was like, oh my gosh. I'm like panicking. And I'm like, they're walking around the house and I'm just like looking at them like, get out. Get out. But I'm just a little kid, so I'm scared of them. I'm like, man, they're going to put me in the answering machine. So finally, thank God, my mom gets home. She pulls up and listen, my mom, she had been working all day. She had her job. She usually got off about 3. She'd go to work about 6 or 7. She got home, she's tired. She ain't trying to hear nothing. She wants to unload her job supplies. She has a cart of stuff that she brings with her to her job. And so she brings it in and puts that down, puts it away. And she's ready to relax, my mom gets home and she doesn't even make it out of the driveway. I bust out the door. Mom, I'm grabbing on her hips, because I'm so short. Mom, it's Laura and my sister. They're not real. They're in the answering machine. Robots, Mom, robots. And she's just like, yeah. Mommy's tired. Get off me. Yeah, get off me. Go play your PlayStation. No, Mom, you don't understand. Yeah, they used to get me all the time, man. But I don't know. Maybe that's some more stories for next episode. I've been doing a lot of childhood stories lately. Listen, you only got so many. I'm sure I got some more in there. But listen, maybe we'll move it on up around the middle school, the high school era. Listen, I got no shortage of them. I don't know why, but I'm just a guy that just stuff goes wrong and stuff happens too. So, and sometimes it's my own fault, but it all, no matter what, makes for a good story. So, might be moving on to some different phases, eras, chapters here in the next few episodes. I hope you'll bear with me through that. I know everyone enjoys the childhood stuff for their own, for a certain reason. I mean, there's nothing like some good old childhood stories, but we'll get going on some other things here soon. Hope you enjoyed this episode. Sorry I'm a week late. It was hectic, but hey, whatever. I'm here now and I'll be here next Monday. Okay. If you want, listen, we just dropped some Like It. I say I just dropped some Like It or Lump It coffee mugs and t-shirts just because why not? Somebody might want a t-shirt. But for all you guys, you guys are the only one, if you're a viewer of the Coffee with Jumpsuit, you're the one who's going to care about that. Like It or Lump It merch is out now. I'll leave a link in the description and in the pinned comment. If you want to get you a Like It or Lump It mug or t-shirt, try it down there for you. If not, hey, I get it. I'll just lump it. If you don't like that, I'll lump it. Anyways, hope you at least liked the video. And we'll be back next week. I hope you have a great Monday. Hope it improved your Monday because I know, hey, Mondays are Mondays, but this one is Labor Day. It's a weekend. So I don't know. Maybe you're playing jumpsuit out there on your boat on the lake while you're fishing. I don't know. But anyways, I hope the rest of your week goes great, and I'll see you back here next time.